Shalom, Israel. I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahawah, Bahasham, Yahawashi, Bahasham, Rakakwadash. Double honors to the apostles and elders and bishops at Great Millstone, and peace and salutations and peace and mercy to the prophets, the hopeful elect, the 144,000, and to the men and women of the 12 lost tribes of Israel, you so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native American Indians. Shalom. Back with another lesson. I'll title this one, A Worldly System That Will Be Judged. A worldly system that will be judged. Call halal Yahawah, Bahasham, Yahawashi. Call halal Yamla, Allahayanawa, Abanawa, Yahawah, Bahasham, Yahawashi. And, this will be straight to the point, something that's on my spirit. But as the title reads, a worldly system that will be judged. And what system is this? This is the U.S. System. This whole Western system, way of living, this Western culture, that, still uphold the customs of Egypt and, the first Egypt and Babylon, these different kingdoms that were before that the Lord destroyed. And we know this place, the U.S., is spiritually known as Sodom and Egypt, spiritually, and Babylon, spiritually known as Babylon. And we know Babylon wasn't destroyed, the land, because that land is being occupied, and it's called Iraq as of today in this in the latter days. But spiritually, Babylon, this place, the U.S., is going to be destroyed forever. This place is going to get hit with nuclear weapons, ICBM missiles, and we know those are the weapons of the Lord's indignation. They're going to be used on this place, and it'll be nothing left here. These are, time is short. Once the fire and smoke clears and dust, this place will just be one big giant desert. And nobody will ever live here ever again. It's just going to be desert creatures here in this place. And this is a worldly, the U.S. democracy philosophy is just corrupt. And look at what they've done around the world. You see? But, call halal Yahawah Bahasham Yahawashi, and looking in the headlines, this place, the U.S., is just spread itself too thin. There, what is the whole economic situation right now with being, $46 trillion in debt? They were saying in the headlines that since 2023, the U.S., the U.S. has spent on its military, the whole military spending. They spent over $900 billion, in military spending. You see? And here it is, the country, the lower class is just, it's they're drowning. The people here are suffering economically. It's tough right now because this is the end. And the U.S. has a whole situation over there, and the whole situation with Ukraine. Then you have the U.S. is over there. The whole situation with Gaza and the Israelis. You're trying to economically compete with China. You know, they keep trying to, increase their presence around the world, and all this is doing, all Trump is doing with this whole U.S. increasing their presence. Them increasing their presence around the world is just it's not helping, because it's more conflict. See, the U.S. wants to be the most powerful and have peace. See, but their system is corrupted, man. Their system is corrupted, and you have the increasing cyber attacks and attack on the infrastructure on this place, and then the whole situation, with these tariffs and trade wars. You got a whole situation with Canada. That's the northern border. You're in a situation with them, and then the same thing down there with Mexico at the southern border. You're having a military recruiting crisis. Nobody wants to join the military, the U.S. military right now. I mean, the Lord told you that He was going to send waves. He was going to send waves of enemies, to this place. It's just going to be one wave after another of just, more conflict, more crisis. It's just like waves. It's just waves, more waves. And this place has just stretched itself too thin. Let me go here and call on Yahawah, Bahasham, Yahawashi. This is, these are the final days of this place. We don't got too much more longer. We're extremely close to war. And in Russia, they're not listening to none of Trump's demands or, his deadlines or nothing like that. And one of them Russian governmental officials said, the more Trump makes threats, the more we draw closer to war. This is all the will of the Lord, man. The Lord told you He's meeting the perverse spirit in this place, the U.S., Egypt, the second Egypt. Let me go here, Proverbs. This place is in big, big trouble. This place is one event away from everybody just losing it. Proverbs 21:1. Proverbs 21:1, and it reads, it says the king's heart is in the hand of the Lord. See? The king's heart is in the hand of the Lord, as the river of water. He turneth it whithersoever He will. See, the king's heart is in the hand of the Lord. The Lord is ultimately controlling this, because it tells you man's goings are of the Lord. How can a man understand his own way? See? It says, every way of man is right in his own eyes. And you can't tell Esau, Edom, these so-called white folks that are in power, that are in rulership, you can't tell them nothing. You can't tell them nothing. they got this whole biometric system. They want to bring forth this C-hip and electronically tag everybody, and that's not the way to go. That's not the way to go. It says every way of man is right in his own eyes. It says, but the Lord pondereth the heart. See? The Lord he's in control of this. And what the Lord got in store for this place, the U.S., man, is destruction. See? The Lord told you, man, that he's gonna watch them, the wicked like he'll observe them like a leopard. And we know it's just symbolic to how the Lord is, how the Lord is watching, because the leopards are the greatest hunters in the animal kingdom. They're great hunters. They watch and stalk their prey without them, knowing. And this is how the Lord is just watching Esau. He's not gonna get away. He's not gonna get away. See, but you can't tell Esau nothing right now. He's wise and right in his own eyes, but little do he know, the Lord is drawing this place into the Third World War, and everybody is going to turn on this place. You're gonna be surrounded. This place is going to be surrounded, man. And like the Lord say, those that don't believe, you're going to perish in your non-belief. This is what is it's coming to. Just tariffing, and you just gonna bully your way around the world and do what you want to do. Everybody gotta listen and follow what you have to say, or else. And we're getting close. Let me go here. Revelation. Let me go here. Revelation. Revelation 18 and 1. Revelation 18 and 1, and it reads, it says, and after these things I saw another angel come down from heaven, having great power, and the earth was lightened with his glory. It says, and he cried mightily with a strong voice, saying, Babylon, Babylon the great is fallen, is fallen. See? Babylon the great is fallen, is fallen. And you have people say, how is the U.S., how is America fallen? Well, ultimately those ICBM missiles that are going to hit this place, because this is prophecy. See, the Spirit of the Lord, who the world ignorantly calls Jesus Christ, is prophecy. It says, and it has become the habitation of devils, and the hold of every foul spirit, and a cage of every unclean and hateful bird. It says 3. It says 3. It says, for all nations have drunk of the wine of the wrath of her fornication. And it's not, that wine is not, it's not literally talking about wine. It says, for all nations have drunk of the wine of the wrath of her fornication. And the U.S. is, known, as a symbolic to a woman, a whore, a harlot, and we know who is the whore, who is the harlot, the U.S. Who is the beast, NATO. The whore, like I tell you in Revelations, that the whore that sits on top of the beast, and the beast, which is NATO, shall hate the whore. Everybody gonna turn on this place. But all the nations have, in other words, they've indulged into their the U.S. philosophies and ways, into their democracy, because this place has pushed out the man on man, the woman on woman. They give all the rights to the woman to rule over the man. It is just a worldly system, this place. And the nations, damn near all the nations are here in the U.S. The so-called Chinese, the so-called Africans, Ethiopians, all the nations are here. Then all the nations, they come right over here to the U.S. And then they're joined hand in hand with Esau, Edom, the so-called white folks, in their little businesses, and then they open up. These other nations open up businesses, and they prosper. They prosper and send their kids off to the U.S. These big universities, Stanford and Cal and Texas and the University of Florida and Harvard. All the nations are here. Their businesses are here in the U.S. The evidence is overwhelming. It says, and then their kids, indulge into this lifestyle. Oh yeah. It says, for all nations have drunk of the wine of the wrath of her fornication. It says, and the kings of the earth have committed fornication with her, and the merchants, of the earth are waxed rich through the abundance of her delicacies. All the nations come here, the so-called Chinese, Japanese, Koreans, Africans, Ethiopians, all these other nations come right here, open up businesses, and they prosper. See? They prosper. And a good majority of Jake, man, you so-called Negro, Latinos, and Native American Indians, your family is born and raised over here for all them years. And your mom or your dad, a good majority of us work all their life and end up, all they get is a new 2010 car and maybe a nice upgraded to two-bedroom apartment, in some nice complex, apartment complex, And here they is, these other nations come right on over here within a year or two, and they balling. See? And that goes back to, it says, and the merchants of the earth are waxed rich through the abundance of her delicacies. See? Let me go here. What is that? What the Lord say? Jeremiah, what is that? I got a couple more and I'll close out. Jeremiah 50, what is that? Jeremiah 51 and Salakia. I'll go, that's what I want to go to. There's so many different scriptures you can hit, man, because the Lord tell you a sword is upon this place. A sword. It says, yeah. I said, 46, and I think it's. Oh yeah, here we go. Okay. Yep. Isaiah Isaiah 47 and 7. Isaiah 47:7. And this is what, because, starting with the leadership in this place, the U.S., is just proud. This place has never been touched. And this is why it's called the virgin daughter of Babylon. This place has been dwelling safely and just as arrogant and corrupted as possible. America has infiltrated over 30 countries, just setting up and their militaries all around the world, going into these different places and taking their resources and doing what they want, and just rape, robbing, and murdering. This is what the U.S. has done. It says, and the people tell you tell them about the war of Armageddon. There's no way we're gonna lose war. We have the greatest, strongest military ever. You're gonna lose this one. You're gonna lose this one. This is it. You will lose this final war, because this is prophecy. The Lord is telling you, all the wickedness that's been going on in this place is finished here, man. Finished. You put up, number one, you put up a false image of the Lord, the Savior, and named him Jesus Christ with pale white skin and long hair and blue eyes, and named him Jesus Christ, a.k.a. Caesar Borgia. And look at what they've done to the Lord's people, to the so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native American Indians. Look at what they've done. It's just been pure blood spill. And the Lord just didn't, and that was all for correction, but like he said, he saw further the affliction. You did more than you were supposed to. And then here it is in the end here. Look at what you're doing still. You ain't right. You ain't right. See, that's why they tell you too, when you have when you're in position, when you're in a good position to help somebody, when you're in a good position, it's going to show what type of character you have. See? When you have money and power, and you're above a person or people, and you're in a chance to help them, especially when you get that money, it's going to show what type of character you have. See? Who you are. But this is what the Lord said. It says, Isaiah 47:7, and it says, and thou saidest, I shall be a lady forever, right? I should be a lady forever, so that thou didst not lay these things to thy heart, neither didst remember in the latter end of it. This is the latter end of it, Babylon, the U.S. Neither didst remember the latter end of it. You're not worried about nothing. Well, this is what the spirit of the U.S. people say here. And you even have Jake amongst our people, you so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native American Indians that are joined hand to hand in this place. You those that vote and love and trust in the American democracy, you say, no way, we're never going to lose no war. You got big plans and all these hopes and dreams, going forward for you and your children, because you're joined into this place. But the Lord said you didn't remember the latter end of it. So let me go here. I'll close out with this. Let me go to Jeremiah. Jeremiah 51. See? But we know before that all our World War III, the War of Armageddon happens, we know the micro C-HIP has to be made mandatory, and we're close. That has to happen, and then that's the green light. That's the green light for the War of Armageddon. Until then, we waiting on that C-HIP, the C-hizzle, my nizzle, my niggity. I'll close out with this. Jeremiah 51. Jeremiah 51 and 24, and it reads, it says, and I will render unto Babylon and to all the inhabitants of Chaldea, all their evil that they have done in Zion. See? Starting with Esau, Edom, you so-called white folks, all the evil that you have done to the Lord's people. Okay? And then you have a lot of Edomites nowadays, they tell, well, we had nothing to do with slavery. And then you've benefited off what your forefathers did. And then you know, a lot of you are still, you're proud, you're arrogant, stick your chest out, and you don't think that nothing can ever happen. But the Lord is long suffering, because the so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native American Indians, the tribes, we had to suffer for our foreparents, for what they did. See? But now the tables are turning. This is through the Lord. Now, our salvation is drawing near, and you're gonna get it. There ain't no other way to it, because this is thus saith the Lord. It says, all the evil that they have done in Zion in your sight, saith the Lord. And then we know there's no justice here for Jake. There's no justice here, man. Esau runs the judicial and system, and and it's just not fair, man. It's not fair. So, and then it trickles down to the jobs and being impoverished. The leadership. It says 25. I'll close out with this. 25. It says, behold, I am against thee, O destroying mountain, saith the Lord, which destroyeth all the earth. And this is what Esau's done. Ultimately, you look at what you're doing in the earth, man. It says, behold, I am against thee, O destroying mountain, saith the Lord, which destroyeth all the earth. Look at what Esau has done in the earth. The animals are suffering. Oil spills all in the ocean. Food is contaminated, man on man, woman on woman. You're pushing that on the children. You've removed the real history of the Lord's people. My goodness. It's just total corruption. It says, and I will stretch out mine hand upon thee and roll thee down from the rocks, and I will make thee a burnt mountain. And what is that, Malachi, what do you say, that the day shall come, like it burn as an oven. Because it's thermal, it's fire coming, man. This is what's going to happen to this place. It's going to be hit by thermal nuclear fire. On top of that, with the Lord coming back with an innumerable amount of angels and shooting out lightning and lasers, just total destruction to this place. And Jake, ultimately the elect out of the Lord's people being delivered out of this. See? So, that's it, man. This, we're watching the downfall. This is thus saith the Lord on what he gonna do to this place. Shalom.